Do you love fans? Well, today we're going to unfold the mysteries of the iris fold, and we're going to make an elegant fan card. I'm going to show you how to make this fantastic, simple, easy folded project. Even if you think you can't fold, you can fold this one. You start out with a rubber stamp, and this is a Judykins rubber stamp. They're very high quality stamps, wonderful images. And what I've done is I've stamped some gold, and I used pigmented stamp ink and a gold embossing powder. And actually, there's a webisode that you can refer to. It's Elegant Embossing. So check that out if you want to know more about embossing. Then I took a sharp craft knife, make sure it's sharp, and I cut out the opening of the fan. And make sure you save your piece because you can use that little fan part for another project. Now what I have is my opening, and I need to make a template or a pattern to fold with. So I'm going to show you how to do that. What I did is I took the same stamp and I colored with a dark marker on just the outside of the stamp. And I made an impression on a piece of plain paper. And then I made some lines with a permanent fine line pen and a ruler. You can make this as delicate as you want, having more papers, or you want to make the fan part wider. It's up to you on how you do this, but I picked 9 pieces of paper. So I'm drawing some lines to make my folding pattern. I just, with a permanent pen, and just draw a fine line, and you can see now I've got a folding template. This is a very simple one. I mounted it on to a piece of the origami backing. So now I've got my template. Now I need to show you the paper. I have this beautiful use-in paper and some gold metallic, and these are just gorgeous papers from Yasutomo. These come in so many colors, and they're luscious and they're great to fold. And what I need to do is make strips out of these. I just cut a little bit over 1 inch, and if you have a finer pattern, you can make the papers even smaller. But right now, it's just a little over 1 inch. I've cut several of those. Then you cut your gold out, and you just take your paper and fold them into strips lengthwise. And that's the only folding you're doing right there. That's it. And I've created several strips for this fan, and I'm going to start attaching them to the card. You just take your card, and there's great stuff called plastic adhesive, and it sort of stays gooey all the time, and it will help adhere your card to your template, which you kind of need because you don't want it shifting around. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that right over the template. I'm going to need some clear adhesive tape to attach these little strips. And I'm going to start with this side here, and you want to make sure you put your folded edge into the inside of the card. And I'm going to go ahead and just use a piece of tape to attach. Now it doesn't matter how it looks on this side because this is the back side of the card. No one's going to see this, so you can make it as messy as you want. Now let's take the second piece and lay it on the guide and attach it with the tape, just like we did with the first one, making sure that the folded edge is toward the center, and you trim. And we just keep going throughout the length of this. And these papers come in so many colors, so your color combinations can be really bold and bright, or they can be subtle and elegant. Like this one I think is a little more subtle and elegant. If your paper is a little too narrow for your guide, you can actually refold it, open it up, and just make it a little bit bigger so that it will cover. You want to make sure that you have no gaps in the fan. Okay, I'm going to lay my last piece down, tape it, and trim. Okay, now we're finished, and it's going to reveal this beautiful fan. Look at those colors shine and how dimensional it looks. And with the embossing powder, I think that even looks more dimensional. Okay, and now we're going to decorate it even further. Now I'm going to make a little tassel to adorn the fan, and I'm going to use the handy screw punch by Yasutomo, and it's one of my favorite tools of all time. You can place a hole anywhere very easily, and in this case I'm using the small bit. It's great for stitching mizuhiki cord. There you have 2 holes, and I'm going to take some mizuhiki cord and I'm going to condition it. It really needs to have conditioning before you make loops like this because it's pretty starched and stiff. So let's loosen it up a little bit by tugging and running it through your fingers. Now that I've got it nice and soft, I'm going to feed it through the bottom of my fan, and I'm going to tie it into a little slip knot. This is very simple. You just take a simple knot and kind of tug it tightly and do another one. And this is the beauty of mizuhiki. I just made a little loop, and I went under the loop, sort of like another overhand knot, but this time I just tugged it, and you can create any type of shape you want, and there it is, and just trim it. So that's the tassel. You've got that. Here I have the heavy-duty greeting card stock, a piece of blue Yuuzhan paper, and the actual fan. It's all layered on there and it's adhered on to that card, but I think it needs a little bit more. So I thought I would add some eyelets. The great thing about this screw punch is that it's very easy to change the bits. So I'm taking out the small bit and I'm putting in the bit that's sized perfectly for those little eyelets. They are very sharp, so you please make sure you have something underneath when you're cutting, unless you want holes in your table. So I'm going to cut through the layers. It should be one shot, and there it is, you've got one hole. So I'm just going to go ahead and do 3 on this side and 3 on the other. Just very smooth to do this, as you can see. One hand, one motion, and this is through several layers. After I made the holes, I inserted some eyelets, and I wanted to use some more Mizuhiki cord to give it a little more sparkle. And I'll go ahead and stitch, and you can do anything you want, but what I did was I just put in the cords on the most outer edges of the holes, brought it back through the back of the card, and brought it through the center hole, and pull it tight, which the card is nice and sturdy to pull tight, and make sure that each cords are straddling the center strand, and then just tie it off and trim with scissors. And this is what you have. And look at the shine and the dimension of all the elements there. It just makes a really elegant greeting card. So here's a wonderful variation of the same card we just did. Now in this variation, I just used different colors of origami paper and Mizuhiki, and you get a different look. This second card here, you see the way it's made, it sort of looks like a lens of a camera or an eye. That's the traditional iris folding. In this last card, I cut out the kimono from a Judy Kids stamp and created the folding and left an opening for this little picture to go inside. I told you this was an easy project, so I hope you have fun folding your own fantastic fans. I had a great time. See you next time.
For step-by-step instructions on how to create this week's project, download the design guide featuring special make-it-your-own bonus tips.